If you grow up the way I did, you always feel like the underdog. I see myself as part of the team that's reinvented the company. We talked about go time becoming grow time. This has got to be Target time.
Target is as recognizable a brand as Coke or Nike. CEO and retail linchpin Brian Cornell, who's been at the helm of the company for more than a decade, is not. The cheap chic retailer has long held its own in the retail landscape, finding its niche as a low-cost but trendy alternative to Costco, Walmart, and even Amazon. That is, until recently. Soon after sales soared over $100 billion for the first time, Target began to miss the post-pandemic mark with shoppers, seeing sales decline for 4 straight quarters through Q1 of 2024.
We've had to be incredibly resilient and recognize that we've got to get ourselves back on track for growth.
Yahoo Finance sat down with the veteran CEO at Target and in his old stomping grounds of Queens, New York, to understand what's driving this retail competitor to get back on top and his plan to win back consumers and investors. Since peaking in 2021, Target stock is down about 40%. Earnings per share were more than cut in half between 2021 and 2022. A combination of other factors, notably a rise in retail theft and a jump in inventory, led to a more than $4 billion dip in profits for Target between 2022 and 2023. In 2023, Target sales took a hit from backlash to its Pride merchandise, part of a broader sales decline, decreasing by 1.7% year over year in 2023. Over the same span, the stocks of Target's competitors Walmart, Amazon, and Costco were in the green, and still are.
Our frequency categories have performed really well, but half of our portfolio is in apparel and home and hard lines. And those categories, not just for Target, but overall, have seen a slowdown.
Following a pandemic-related spending surge, discretionary spending petered out, hitting Target more than rivals as nearly half of the company's portfolio consists of non-essential items like home goods and clothing. Cornell diversified Target's product offerings, increasing groceries to 23% of sales in 2023. But competitors like Walmart earn nearly 60% of its sales from groceries. More than 50% of Costco sales come from food items. And while Amazon is less reliant on essentials, its business is much more diversified as a whole. This isn't the first time Cornell has faced an uphill battle.
I think fear is a factor. You know what it looks like on the other side, and you don't want to go back there.
Growing up with a challenging home life in Queens, New York, the CEO went on to hold executive positions at retailers, including Safeway, Sam's Club, and food and beverage giant PepsiCo. Cornell became the first outsider to take Target's top job in 2014, at a time the retailer was struggling and coming off a major data breach.
What was that initial call like when you got the job or the offer to join Target?
I did a lot of homework on the company, but I knew Target from my years in consumer packaged goods, working with other retailers. I thought about the opportunity to take this iconic brand, Target, and get it back on the right road, get it back to being a growth company.
Cornell's first order of business, closing down the company's $5.4 billion unsuccessful foray into Canada.
They expected Target to be the Target that they saw in the United States. And we had issues with in-stocks. We had issues with the overall guest experience. The consumer wasn't going to give us a second or third chance. And I also recognized the impact it was having on our US operations, because we had a lot of great leaders up there trying to fix that business. I needed them back in the US. So it was a difficult discussion with the board, and we thought about it very carefully. But I recognized the right thing for us to do was to exit the market. Back then we said we didn't expect to be break even in Canada until 2022.
So you don't regret that?
No regrets. I would love to have had a chance to be part of the team that entered the market. Because I think had we gone in there with 5 stores that became 10, test, learn, iterate, I know we would have been really successful.
After a few years of stagnant revenue growth, Cornell announced some very large investments. The $550 million acquisition of delivery company Shipt in 2017, and a $7 billion investment in Target stores. A big reason behind Cornell opening more than 250 locations, including small format urban stores, many during a period when all signs were pointing away from brick-and-mortar retailing.
We talked about our digital strategy starting with our stores. Talked about stores as hubs, that we're going to use our stores as mini fulfillment centers. People's heads were spinning, but that might have been, in the course of my time at Target, the most important day.
Well, did you second guess yourself?
I didn't.
No.
We knew because the consumer had told us we're doing the right thing. Certainly those investments we made going into the pandemic, where drive up and pick up and our same day delivery to your home were so important. But the physical store experience was also important because when people walked into a store like this, they knew it was safe, it was clean, they wanted to be there.
Inside those stores, Cornell also invested in Target's owned brands, a secret weapon that has set Target apart versus its rivals.
How big is the private brand portfolio for Target?
It's a little over $30 billion now.
It's massive.
Yeah, with 11 brands that are billion-dollar brands, including a few like Good and Gather or Cat and Jack that are multi-billion-dollar brands.
Target's own brands currently make up about a third of its portfolio. Target has also relied on third-party partnerships under Cornell, from product lines to incorporating businesses like Ulta Beauty into stores to outsourcing pharmacy operations to CVS.
We had some capability gaps. We said, all right, we either make big investments here, or should we find someone who has great expertise that can bring a great brand to complement our offering? And the CVS partnership was one where we knew they were going to bring the great expertise into that space. And it allowed us to focus on other things where we knew we could really drive performance.
These decisions collectively drove growth as the company's revenue increased by nearly 50% from 2015 to 2022. Target's return on invested capital peaked at 22.64% in 2021, but as inflation rose, Target sales declined, a trend noticed by investors.
People are, talking about what we've done, and you're getting the accolades, and then 13 weeks later, you got to be delivering the same kind of results. You're always going to compete. You got to do it again and again.
Cornell's competitive nature was developed at this very playground in Whitestone, Queens, a place he hasn't visited in decades.
Does it look similar to it at all?
Looks exactly the same.
Oh, really?
I grew up without a dad, the support of my mom, lots of support from my grandparents, but certainly it wasn't a classic lifestyle where you say, all right, here's a kid who's going to grow up to be successful, certainly not run a company like Target. But, I learned early on in life the importance of school and performing well in the classroom. I gravitated towards sports. It was something that was really important to me.
Why did sports mean so much to you?
Nobody really cared how much money you had, what your parents did. What they cared about is, did you show up? Did you put great energy behind it? Could you perform?
Did you feel like an underdog in part because of how you grew up?
I think if you grow up the way I did, you always feel like the underdog. You always worry about, all right, taking that step back. So I think it's always given me a bit of a competitive edge and kind of lean in, make sure that nobody's gonna ever outwork you and you're gonna give it your all and try to perform every day.
It's a mindset that set Cornell up for the world of retail long before he even came to Target.
Of all the different industries you could choose, retail's probably the most competitive one.
Yeah.
And we wake up every day. We're competing with large-scale players, specialty players, physical players, digital players, and we're in every single category. So we're constantly competing. And I think it's what makes retail so exciting. You either love this or it's not for you.
At 65 years old, the hyper-competitive retail business is still for Cornell, as he looks to cement his legacy at a pivotal time for Target and its investor base. Part of Target's growth strategy now includes taking a page out of its competitor's playbook, a paid membership program called Target Circle 360, which launched in April of 2024.
You can shop our stores, you can use our drive up, and if you need something delivered to your home, we'll get it to you within a couple of hours.
The $99 a year program's main perks include free 2-day and same-day shipping. It's all part of an effort to improve the customer experience in digital ways and in person, as Target plans to open 300 additional locations over the next decade.
During the pandemic, when most of us were staying home to stay safe, over 70% of all the retail dollars were still spent at a physical store. I know that 10 years from now, you'll still be shopping in a store, and some days you'll click your app and use the drive-up lane. Some days you'll say, just please deliver it to my home.
Cornell is also lowering prices again, not to get rid of inventory, but as a strategy to get more people through Target stores and to keep them there even longer. These strategies may be starting to pay off, with second quarter sales up 2.7% from 1 year ago.
We stayed focused on listening to the consumer, listening to our team, thinking about the right things for Target, and staying really focused on execution. And we brought all that to life in the second quarter. And we've got to build on that momentum.
For now, Cornell's focus remains on getting Target back on track for investors and for customers, a literal target for Cornell as he potentially eyes moving on from the top job.
When you don't wake up energized about the impact that you can have, it's time for you to step aside and start thinking about what's next. Fortunately today, I still love what I do. I'm surrounded by a great team. I wake up every day thinking about how I can impact the organization, but I won't do it forever. And I'll make sure when it's my time to step aside, there's a great team in place that I know is going to guide this company forward and do even better things than I've done in my 11 years.